Hi everyone, I just wanted to pop in and talk about something that's a little bit different to what I've seen online. So before I had my surgery, I looked up all of the top 10 things I wish they'd said before surgery, or top 5 things I wish I'd known about prior to getting gastric bypass. And those videos were all very, very interesting to me. I'm doing one that's same but slightly different, because mine is not necessarily numbered. I don't necessarily have a 1 to 5 or anything like that. I might start by listing them off and hopefully I'll end up with a reasonable number. But mine is more things that I didn't expect based on the information and what I've seen online. So that's both the information given to me by the clinic and what I've seen online. Some of these might be a bit TMI, but you know, if you don't want to watch that, just turn this video off. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy. So the first thing that I didn't quite, I guess I was worried about before the surgery was constant nausea and feeling sick. My dietitian keeps asking me, how are you feeling? Have you been vomiting? Have you been all right? And I have been. Like, honestly, I have felt way better since having this surgery than I have in probably the last 10 years. Like, it's amazing not having nausea and acid reflux and everything like that constantly. Like, I did not realize how much of a problem I had with it until I didn't have it anymore. And you know, that's not something that anyone prepared me for. The doctor said that there was more of a chance of developing acid reflux if I had the gastric sleeve instead of the gastric bypass, which was a big part of the reason why I went with the bypass. But that didn't prepare me for not having gastric reflux and acid reflux after the surgery. So that was a fantastic thing that I didn't expect. You know, I hoped, and I still hope, that it would help with the polycystic ovarian syndrome pain, but I didn't really expect it to help with the nausea so much. The second thing, and this is probably a little bit of a slap on the hand for me, I've sort of been pushing into the next stages a little bit earlier than I probably should be. Not anything extreme, like I didn't go out and eat a steak on the second day or anything like that, but when the dietitian saw me on a Tuesday and said that I could start the diet on a Thursday, I started introducing some of those things slowly into my diet on the Tuesday, Wednesday. So little things like the porridge and stuff like that. I basically figured I'll try a little bit. If it works, then I'll continue. If it doesn't work and it makes me feel sick, it makes me feel nauseous, then I'll go back and I'll stage back a bit and wait and then try again. And this was based on information that I've read everywhere else. You know, everyone has slightly conflicting dates and time frames and when things will work for them. I know some people who couldn't have eggs for months afterwards, and some that were having eggs day 2. So, you know, it is all a little bit of knowing your body and learning your body. So yeah, I've pushed ahead a lot quicker with a lot of things, and I wouldn't recommend anyone else do it. Like I said, it's definitely a slap on the wrist sort of situation for me, but I think it has helped me mentally get through things like the wanting to eat and chew sooner. So I was eating fish a little bit sooner than I probably should have, and partly it's the dietitian's fault for not really explaining what she meant by some things. What I mean by that is, she said that I could have some fish with some mashed vegetables. She never really specified what vegetables should be in there or shouldn't be in there. So I was just doing peas, carrots, corn, potato, because it's just a nice, easy thing that I can whip up while, you know, cooking dinner for the family. So I'd whip up peas, carrots, corn, potato, make sure they're well cooked, which is a little bit over what I prefer them. I usually prefer them to be slightly blanched, and that's it. And then mash those up and put some fish through it, and like fork the fish through and mix it all in. It wasn't until after I was doing some research on something else that I read you shouldn't have corn for apparently months afterwards, because it's something that's quite hard to digest. And I'd been having it fine. So some other stuff happened, and I had, work dinner I needed to go to, and they know that I've had the gastric bypass, so they're all pretty good with, not worrying about me not eating or anything like that. Like, they don't think that I'm suddenly developed an eating disorder and I'm only going to have a couple of handfuls of food and that's it. But the place that they chose was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Worst place for someone like me so soon after bypass to go to. But what I did was I just walked around and picked sort of the softer of the foods that I could eat. So I had some chicken and some potatoes and stuff like that, and I had them fine. I probably ate just a little bit too much. I felt a little bit sick. That was the first and only time I felt like that real nauseous, oh my God, I'm going to vomit kind of feeling. But it passed really quickly, and I just knew it was because I pushed things a little bit too fast, and in terms of eating too fast, not in terms of what I actually ate. But the things that I did eat are on my now list of the softer foods that I should be introducing now. So yeah, I guess that surprised me, was how well my body was able to tolerate the healing process and adding more foods in. Like I said, would not recommend to anyone else, especially if you've got a really good dietitian who details things really, really well and gives you a detailed list of what you can and can't have. Follow their instructions to the T. My dietitian, I don't know, I find her a little bit wishy-washy. She's good and she does try and explain things fairly well, but you can tell she just wants you out of the office and, just wants to give you the bare bones and doesn't want you to think ahead and all this sort of stuff. And that, I'm very much a think ahead. I want to plan 3 stages ahead of where I am now, not for where I am now. Because where I am now, I'm dealing with that. I'm doing that. That's fine. I want to know what comes next. And that's just part of my nature and part of my personality. So yeah, I've pretty much got to the point now where I'm eating the same dinners as my family. I'm modifying the dinners a little bit. I'm not cooking steak. I'm cooking a bit of bolognese or something like that, making sure I throw lots of extra veggies in there, which my daughter doesn't really like very much. But at the end of the day, if it means that some of the nutrients are leaching into the foods that she's eating, it's only a good thing, isn't it? So yeah, and stuff like spinach you can mix through and you don't even notice it, don't taste it. And it adds that little bit of extra hit of, nutrients. So she's definitely getting those at least, which is something she would not do otherwise, and definitely not of her own accord. So yeah, so that was something that was a bit surprising for me. The third thing was, it's a bit of a strange one because I guess it makes sense once you start getting active, and I've never been inactive, but how good it feels to be exercising again. We sort of went through stages where I used to walk a lot, then I walked a little bit less, and then time just was such a crunch that I didn't have time to walk for an hour to an hour and a half every day. So I really had to be restricted. And now that even 20 kilos has made such a difference in how it feels to walk. And I was never one that had big problems with my knees or my hips, like I know a lot of people do have, but it just feels better and it feels healthier. I know that sounds really strange and it's very hard to quantify it, but it just feels good to just hit the pavement and take the dogs with you, watch them be crazy people and stuff like that. There's a dog park that I take them to on Saturdays, which is this huge open expansive area that has off-leash area. So it's just this big walking path. It takes about 15-20 minutes to walk around it. And yeah, I take them there on Saturdays because I've got to drive my daughter over this way anyway. It's a bit of a hike to go every day from home, but during the weekend when I can do it with Piper, it makes it so much easier. And it's just great to walk around and not worry about things. The blister on my foot is just come up yesterday, and that sucks because I wanted to go for a walk today, and that's just weird for me. So it's almost like that little taste of healthiness just makes you want to get healthier still. And I hope that can continue. I know that regain is a big concern, and for me, especially with that plateau that I was having, it's a fear that's sort of living away in the back of my mind. So the more I can just be like, no, I enjoy going for this hour and a half long walk, then the more that's less likely to happen. And even if it does happen, even if I do regain weight, I'll still be healthy, and that's the most important thing. The health aspect of it is what I'm most concerned about and most happy about. The fourth thing, how hungry I've been getting. Everyone, all of the books, all of the people online, the dietitian, everyone said, you won't feel hungry. That's the best thing about this surgery, is it takes away the ghrelins, something like that, whatever the hormone is that sends a message to your brain to say, hey, I'm hungry, feed me. It didn't work like that for me. I have been famished. Not all the time. I'll eat, I'll feel fine, and then 2 to 3 hours later, I'm ravenous. I need food. Now, this sounds just kind of commonsensical, I guess, to a lot of people, but I don't eat. I don't eat breakfast. I rarely eat lunch. Usually I might have a snack when I come home from work, and that's usually the worst because by that stage I tend to be a little bit hungry, so it'll be takeout on the way home, something cheap from takeout on the way home. But now by lunchtime, if it's 11-12 o'clock and I haven't eaten, oh my god, I'm hungry, I'm ravenous. And as weird as it sounds, I think that's actually a really good thing, because I think it means that the hormones are starting to work correctly. I think for so long my metabolism and all of my hormones have been so out of whack that I haven't felt hungry. I haven't felt the need to eat because my metabolism was just in hibernation and my whole body was just in hibernation. So I was just putting on weight and putting on weight and putting on weight, even though I'd only have, maybe 1,200 calories if I was lucky in a day. But it was one meal that would push up the calories that much, or 2 meals that would push up the calories that much. And yeah, so it's a surprising thing that I did not expect at all, because everyone talks about how not hungry they are after the surgery, especially in the first few months. And I wasn't. I was just like, oh my god, this thing didn't work because I'm so hungry so much. But then when I sat and thought about it, that's when it started to make sense that for me, being hungry is a sign that the hormones are working right and that they have reset and that things are working properly, because I've never had that. Not for years. I don't even think during my teenage years I had it. When I was a child, I used to be able to skip lunches and save the money that mum gave me for tuck shop for other things because I just wasn't hungry. I was never a hungry child. So that was something that really did surprise me and that has been good. And, now I just need to get into the habit of eating those meals regularly so that hormone doesn't turn off again, so that my metabolism keeps going. And probably introducing a couple of snacks during the day just to sort of really keep things moving at a constant pace and keep the glucose ticking over at a constant pace. So yeah, that was interesting too, and it's been something of a bit of a surprise for me. And then I think that's really the main ones that sort of surprised me. The most of them I was sort of expecting. I will give you a fifth one, and this is definitely the TMI part, so either skip ahead or just block your ears if you don't want to hear it, or turn off the video at this point. One thing that no one warned me about, and probably because it is too much information and no one really wants to talk about it, is the number 2s. Now, obviously less food going in means less food coming back out, and therefore constipation and all that sort of stuff is quite a common feature of having a gastric bypass, and that's part of the reason why they give you sort of semi-soft and those sorts of things when you finish at the hospital, so that you can make things move along, especially in those early few days when you've had a lot of opioids, because opioids cause constipation. And that's all fine, like I expected all of that. And this is the too much information part, but what I didn't expect was the smell. I don't know if it's because of the little bit of blood that's still sort of in there or something like that, but oh my god, you could clear a nuclear waste facility with the scent of this, you know, the first few times you go to the toilet. Oh my God, I can't believe I just admitted that on camera. But yeah, it was just, oh my God, what are you doing? And you start to wonder whether there's something wrong with your body, because there is no way that you should be producing scents like that. But thankfully that sort of did calm down after a little while, and I think it will calm down more and more as I start to eat more and more regularly with more and more normal foods. So yeah, that's something to expect if you're about to undergo this journey. And maybe it won't happen for everyone, because that's the biggest thing I think that you need to take away from my journey and from anyone else's journey that you watch online, is it will all be different. Everyone's journey will be different. You could have the exact same surgeon, the exact same surgery on the exact same day, and you'll have different results, because everyone's own journey up to that point has been different. Everyone's body up to that point has been different. You know, no two bodies work exactly the same, and that is one of the hardest things with nutrition, and it's one of the biggest reasons why people just simply dismissing overweight people and saying, well, if they ate less or if they exercised more, then they'd have healthier lifestyles. None of that is true, because, you know, sometimes energy in and energy out don't actually balance off. They don't matter against each other if the body's not burning the fuel efficiently, if you know, if the calories aren't being expended when you're walking because you're not walking fast enough, or you're walking too fast, or, you know, you're not eating enough during the day. Because that's the other problem, is eat less is always the biggest motto that people say to help you lose weight, but eating less can be just as harmful as eating too much when it comes to weight loss, because your body goes, oh my God, I don't have enough calories. I need to store all of these in there. I need to keep all the fat so that when winter comes, I will have these stores that I can rely on. And even genetics comes into it. You know, I did a little bit of psychology course a little while ago, and they were talking about the genetics of lack, and how what your grandmother lacked as a child. So we're seeing a lot of obesity now, not necessarily just because of the increase in takeaway foods and all that sort of stuff, which is obviously a concern, but the people who went through the Great Depression and kids from that, it can rewrite the genetics to sort of say, hey, you need to store food because you never know when your next meal's coming. So babies born during that were born with this particular gene turned on to say, you know, make sure you're storing your food because you don't know when it's going to come. And this is obviously an evolutionary trait that is beneficial if you're in a long-term situation where survival is difficult. But when you have a Great Depression and a lack of food, and then you go from that to excess within 2 generations, 3 generations, that's when you end up with this obesity crisis. Especially when the excess is excess in fat and sugar and all the things that the body loves but aren't necessarily good for the body at the same time. So yeah, that's my little rant for today. So yeah, that's the things that I didn't expect, and they're not necessarily bad things. They're not necessarily great things. Some of them are, obviously. I'm feeling really, really good. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've had from this surgery, is this confidence boost. And I don't even know what it is. Like, it's not the weight loss. I don't give a crap about the weight loss. I'll make another video about that in a second, which you probably won't see for a couple of days, but, you know, just know that I will be making one about it. It's everything else. That's the most sort of, I guess, impressive thing for me. It's that feeling good from walking. It's feeling good from knowing that the food I am putting into my body is good for me. And I don't know exactly where else the source has come from, but it's just this really good feeling that I've been having a lack of for a very, very long time. And yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, everything's good with me. I hope everything's good with you. Until next time, I'll see you later.